What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today there is a brand new 3-round of mock draft from Todd, McShay, and Kiper. So if you guys are new, we'd love for you guys to stick around. We're on our way to 8K, 9K, 10K, and beyond. Only y'all can make that happen, which would be greatly appreciated. Let's jump right into this because not only are we going to be covering the draft, but as soon as it ends, we're going to be having a 2024 draft content coming out, and as well as multiple other series, including fantasy, as well as sports betting, as well as mediocre Madden streams, so long as remote play can actually work, which has been the biggest pain in the ass. Otherwise, y'all would have seen it already sooner, but that's another topic for another day. Let's get right into this. Number one overall. We're not going to waste any time talking about this. Bryce Young is the odds favorite, and everybody believes that it's just going to be Bryce. So there you go. Houston Texans then going CJ Stroud. There could be some bad blood in the water. The now new odds are saying that it's Will Anderson 1 and Will Levis 2 for this spot in terms of what the betting odds favorites are going to be. I think that would be a big mistake to go Will Levis over CJ Stroud, and I'm not even the biggest CJ Stroud guy. Y'all know me. You guys get to see the board right below my face. Yeah, y'all are going to disagree with it. I already know. Don't worry about it. But I also believe that CJ is not a bad quarterback at all. I do think he's better than Will Levis, and I think taking Will at number 2 would be a big mistake. I also think if you're not going to take CJ, I believe other teams are willing to pay the price to move up. And you have 2 teams in your division trying to select a quarterback. Now, I did say this on a video that is still taking time to upload, so thank you, YouTube, for absolutely shellacking us YouTube creators. However, I said if you don't really believe in CJ Stroud and you trade back with a team in your own division who wants him, then maybe you could be the one taking the high IQ road and stealing picks from a team that you think will fail. You can take that as you will. But I think CJ Stroud, if it does end up being the number 2 pick, not a bad one at all. Cardinals then going Will Anderson. If they're not moving out of that selection, definitely makes sense. Indianapolis Colts going Anthony Richardson. I think Will Levis now appears more than ever to be a favorite for a lot of these teams, and that's weird. But, Anthony Richardson, I think, works with Steichen very, very well. Seahawks going Jalen Carter. I dig it. I do. As long as the personality stuff is in check, he's going to be a phenomenal player. I have him at number 19 on my board solely because of personality. That's it. And if that is just immaturity, that could just be worked out easily. He was my number 4 player before. He'll just jump right back up there. So y'all know that the talent is ridiculous. Lions going Tyree Wilson. I think that is perfectly fine. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of that. I think corner is definitely a position I would prioritize at 6 because I'd rather get Joey Porter Jr. or some people love Devon Witherspoon. Some people love Christian Gonzalez more than JPJ. Understandable. I can see where y'all are coming from. But I'd rather get one of those corners and then end up with Myles Murphy at 18 than go Tyree Wilson here and get the leftovers and pray to God for Deonte Banks. We'll see. This is a live reaction as well, so God only knows what's going to happen. Speaking of Devon, he goes right here to the Raiders. I definitely think that's a very smart move for them. Going a defensive back is never a bad selection. Falcons going Christian Gonzalez. You're kind of instantly writing off what could be there with Jeff Okudah, and it looks like they're definitely going to be looking for an edge rusher at this pick. But I'm never against going a cornerback. Cornerbacks in the first round have a significantly higher hit rate than those in the second. And, if you do want to just, hey, we traded for Jeff Okudah, it was very low draft capital. And, we're going to get one of these guys. We're going to throw these 2 dudes at the wall and see who sticks. Then it makes sense. I'm not going to complain about it. But I would just say maybe try to prioritize that edge rusher position. I'm not going to complain about this, though. I'm just nitpicking. Bears going Peter Skoronski. I would just love to go Darnell Wright. And there we go. So, he just believes that Skoronski can learn any position. I think Darnell Wright's a better pick. I don't think he's a better player, and I am super high on Darnell Wright. Y'all know me. I was Mr. Darnell Wright guy from the beginning in terms of like the beginning of the offseason. I love Darnell Wright, and he's my tackle number 1. Skoronski's offensive lineman number 1. So even though I have my big man crush on Darnell, Skoronski is still above him. I still think that Darnell's going to be better fit for the Bears, though. I just believe that wholeheartedly. Eagles going Bijan. So Yeah, it's intriguing to go Bijan to the Eagles, and I think that is the biggest needle mover. If I were the GM of the Eagles, that's exactly what I would do. And I'm ready for those incoming comments saying, "Thank God that you are not the GM of the Eagles." However, if you think about it, it's the position on the team that has the most ability to be improved. And this is a player who is noted as kind of like that gold jacket type. So I think that is just a perfect move for him. I do, but we all know that's probably not going to happen. Howie's just not a RB round one type of dude. Titans then going Will Levis. I do that myself all the time, but I usually move up for him. So glad to see him slip there. Texans then going Jackson Smith and Jigba, pairing him up with CJ Stroud. This is pretty similar to a mock that I've done myself. Broderick Jones to the Jets. I'm not going to complain about any of these picks so far. Paris Johnson to the Patriots makes sense as well. They kind of can need both left and right tackles after this year. Packers going Dalton Kincaid. This is the first one where, after it's first one in a hot minute that I actually do have a little bit of an issue with. It's a very minute bone to pick. I don't think a tight end is worth top 15 selection unless you're truly special. And I really like Kincaid. He is by far my tight end one in the class. I just don't think he's that special. I think you can get someone who is remotely close to his talent level in the second round. So maybe you can get someone that's 80%, and I might think they're 90% as good as Dalton Kincaid for about half of the value, if not less than that. Because if you want to go off the points chart, then it's definitely worth less than half of the value, and you can still get a really good player. And it's a lower value position in my eyes. Like if you have a good enough, just a solid enough tight end, it can work. You can just kind of separate yourself when you have the elite dudes. Washington Commanders going Darnell Wright. They are addressing Andrew Wiley already. I think that it would be a little bit of a wasted pick. And for my Steelers that I would love Darnell Wright to go to, it would be a little bit of a kick to the gut. Steelers then going, stop. Oh, come on, man. Like Joey Porter Jr. is on the board. So they added Allen Robinson today for absolutely nothing. So go Steelers. Zay Flowers is a fun one, but if you're going to go Zay, you're going to go Jordan Addison because you're going to get that instant chemistry. So, I love Zay Flowers. You all know it. He was my wide receiver 4 starting out the year, and I think he's my wide receiver 4 still. So good for him. Actually, he's my wide receiver 3. So even better for Zay. But, man, it's so close. You could have gotten JPJ. And I think the Steelers' DB needs are more important. But we'll see what happens. Again, this is the first round. There's more than one round in the draft. McShay goes after Kalijah for the Lions. I don't think that's a bad idea, but you're going 2 defensive line picks when I think now you can get Joey Porter Jr., Deontay Banks, and really bolster that secondary after you lost Okudah and have Emmanuel Mosley on a 1-year deal. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Lucas Van Ness. They're probably going to try to reach for something that's a high upside prospect. I would not be too shocked if this is the result of it. Seahawks going Nolan Smith. I would love that for them. Obviously, pairing him up with Jalen Carter. Great. Then Jordan Addison for the Chargers. Not going to complain about that either. Ravens going Emmanuel Forbes. I've been seeing him lose. He's been going lower on the odds in terms of being available at 28 because I just saw this one tweet talking about ESPN odds for who's going to be there at 28 because it was a Bengals specific channel. But they're saying Emmanuel Forbes might be getting a little bit of steam. The Ravens are looking for a defensive back. I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility. I'd be surprised for them to go for a man who's 170. But at the same time, Emmanuel Forbes' talent was cornerback 2 for me before he ended up, falling on my board because of that weight. I'm just scared. If he gets up to 180 and still runs in that 4.3 range, absolutely I'm open to it. But it's just very, very tough to last in the NFL. And maybe this pick isn't designed to last. Maybe you just want to win a Super Bowl and you have a dude that you want on your roster for 3-4 years. But that's another topic for another day. Vikings going JPJ would be absolute perfection. Jaguars going Michael Mayer. They do definitely love their tight ends. Doug EP loves his tight ends. So I'm not going to go against that, but I think that they could be leaning defensive back here. They could also be leaning after an edge rusher. We'll see. Holy shit, I just realized that Emmanuel Forbes went before Joey Porter Jr. That's a big no-no in my book. However, maybe McShay is a little bit lower on JPJ. So next we have the Giants going Deontay Banks. That is absolute perfection. He also, I love me some, I love Emmanuel Forbes. All my heart. I can't do it. I can't fathom taking him above 2 top tier corners. It doesn't matter though at this point. Cowboys going Quentin Johnston, adding another receiver to this room. Man, I mean, I understand that, this is a very pass heavy league, but I mean, there's already 3, 4, potentially 5 wide receivers on this team, especially if you add in Quentin Johnston, who are going to get meaningful reps. You can't just go 5 wide every play. I don't really get that one myself. Bill's going Trent Simpson, replacing Tremaine Edmonds. I'd prefer to go after Jack Campbell, but understandable. Julius Brents goes round 1, so I think that he's going to be probably one of those dudes who goes latter in the draft. He's probably going to be the round 2, not later in the draft, but like the latter pick of the Bengals, which is a second rounder one. I think that's more likely. This dude can't cover a tight end in man coverage. It's literally on tape. Just watch him versus Alabama. It's atrocious. And that's his last game, so it's not like cherry picking on him early in the year. He's a zone coverage corner, which does fit what the Bengals are kind of looking for. But you got to be able to cover a man, and I just don't trust him, and I don't think many other people do either. Saints then going Brian Breezy. I hope they make the right move and do this instead of going Jonathan Mingo, but we'll see about that. Eagles going Miles Murphy is incredible. Love that. Will McDonald for the Chiefs does feel like a really nice Frank Clark replacement across from George Karlaftis. Steelers then going Brian Branch. I'm a fan of it. DJ Turner. Ooh, interesting that they're considering him that high, but I would love for the Steelers to be able to add Brian Branch into that mold and, see if he could potentially play a bigger role like Tremaine Edmonds was supposed to be, or Terrell Edmonds, excuse me. Pick number 33. The Texans go Keon White. I wouldn't really consider a big-ass dude an outside linebacker. However, getting the Texans some extra pass rush help, never going to be a bad thing, and maybe it is a way to factor in Keon White going earlier. He is going to the draft, but, I mean, we had dudes at the draft who didn't go until round 3, so you never know. Cardinals going DJ Turner. They lost out on Byron Murphy. There you go. And I think that's an absolutely perfect pick. Colts then going Osiris Torrance. I've done that myself a plethora of times. Rams then going Felix Anudike-Uzomah. They almost paid two first, or maybe 2 seconds in a first for an edge rusher in Brian Burns this year. They're definitely telegraphing that they want to go after one of those. So not a bad pick whatsoever, and it is realistic. Seahawks then going Hendon Hooker. I think that this is a possibility. And since Geno is pretty much on a 1-year contract before it could get voided after that, Hendon Hooker could step in and have that instant success. If you're looking for that day 1 impact, this could be a cheap way of getting that done. Next, we have the Raiders going Steve Avila. I do like Steve Avila. I think he's a perfectly fine fit for the Raiders. Not going to complain. I think I've actually done that myself. I think I've had Witherspoon and Avila to them, so not going to complain. Panthers going Jalen Hyatt. It's a good deep threat, so we'll see. Maybe this could be the Jameson Williams for Bryce Young. Next, we have the Saints going Luke Musgrave. I think that tight end was perfectly fine, and yes, Derek Carr did have a bond with Darren Waller, so I do think that you could certainly see the emergence of Luke Musgrave as a leading target for Derek Carr. Titans going Darnell Washington. Him and Chigakonkwo would be nasty. You have the speed, you have the lightning, and then you have the thunder right here, and he's a really good blocker as well. I'd hope to look maybe more for like DeJuan Jones on the offensive line, but I'm not going to go too crazy if they try to get just another guy who kind of is a tackle, who can also move and be a really good piece in that running game. The Jets going Joe Tippmann. I've seen a lot of people talking about center to the Jets. I don't think that's a bad pick whatsoever. Kiper then goes Adebawore, and they have looked at defensive interior, so I think that's a perfectly fine selection. This is weird. I'm agreeing with a lot of these picks. That's really weird. Jonathan Mingo going to the Falcons. I think he's a really fun addition to have. Desmond Ridder hasn't really had that type of bigger build receiver back when he was at Cincinnati, that, 6 foot, 230 pounds, and one of those guys who's just kind of a weird, freakishly built dude. And Ole Miss has plenty of them. It's weird. But Desmond Ridder having Jonathan Mingo, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts would be a very nice group, but I'd prefer to go maybe after someone like, I was about to say Zay Flowers, but kid out of UNC that I'm bugging on his name right now. I still think that would be a really, really good move. Josh Downs is his name. B.J. Ojulari to the Packers is an excellent selection. I have him as a top 10 player on my board, which I'll scroll down for y'all right now. Patriots then going Tyreek Stevenson. I am digging it. I love that pick for him. Keely Ringo to the Commanders, I think is perfectly fine. I'm not mistaken, I think I got Keely Ringo to the Commanders in one of my first way too early 2023 mocks, so glad to see that. Lions going Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that's a really nice compliment to David Montgomery, and DeAndre Swift has not been really available in terms of health, as well as like just overall he has not been the type of running back that a new regime would want to keep on, and they were not the ones to draft DeAndre Swift. Steelers then going Anton Harrison. I would absolutely lose my shit in pure excitement for the Steelers. And I'm just going to quickly check. What did we get at the start of this round? Brian Branch. Oh my goodness. So Brian Branch, I'm a Steelers guy. Let me geek out for a second. All right. So Zay Flowers, but then you get Anton Harrison and Brian Branch. Like, you know what? I'm going to let it slide. And I think us Steelers fans would too. Tampa Bay going DeJuan Jones is a ridiculous deal. Obviously, he's a right tackle, so I'm intrigued to see. Where they put Tristan Wirfs, but the value is impeccable. Dalton's going. Dolphins are going Brenton Strange. This is the second time I've seen him up this high. I mean, I haven't done a deep tape study on Brenton Strange, but he did not stand out that much. Intriguing to see. I think Sam Laporta is a better tight end anyway, but really interesting. Interesting to see him continue going high. Then you got Jaden Reed here, nowhere close to the talent level of D. Eskridge, and I like Jaden Reed. There's a better wide receiver on his team. I'm forgetting his name, but I think he's like Keon Coleman. He's really good. Number 0. He's 6'4", and he's young too. He'll be coming out probably in next year's class. Mozzie Smith goes to the Bears. Can't really see him falling this far, but I think if the Bears get to nab Mozzie, that's a ridiculous deal. Chargers then going Keanu Benton, another very fine selection. Have not really bolstered that interior at all, so getting a really good value there is excellent. Lions going Drew Sanders. I can't see them doing that over Jack Campbell, but I am very happy if they still make that pick. Riley Moss in round 2, huh? I'm not a Riley Moss hater. I have a round 4 grade on this dude, but intriguing to see him go this high. I can't really get behind that, but defensive back for the Jaguars is a very good selection. John Michael Schmitz to the Giants. I think I just made that myself earlier today. Cowboys going Sam Laporta. I think that's an excellent pick. They lost down Dalton Schultz. It's a good one to replace him. Josh Downs, speaking of Bills, I think that's perfectly fine. Great value as well. Bengals going Matt Bergeron. I don't really know if the value is good enough. Orlando Brown's going to be playing on the left tackle spot, so I don't understand that one myself. Bears going Derek Hall. I've been kind of telegraphing that I would love the Bears to get Derek Hall. He was one of my dream fits in my Edge video, so feel free to check that out as well. Eagles going Zach Pickens. They did bring him in for a top 30 visit, but I absolutely do not think he's deserving of a day 2 pick. He's a pretty athletic dude, but I don't think that it's worth, I'd rather just get no defensive interior and just say, Milton Williams, you're going to need to take an even bigger role than to go after Zach Pickens here. Kansas City Chiefs going Marvin Mims. That's some crazy speed right there. Round number 3, Bears going Cam Smith. I'm perfectly fine with that. They're looking for a defensive back. They're looking for something to pair across from Jalen Johnson. I do think they could be in the Cam Smith market. Texans going Jack Campbell would be ridiculous. Cardinals going Cedric Tillman. I'll scroll down a little bit more so you guys get to see more. Cedric Tillman, I think that's perfectly fine as well, especially if DeAndre Hopkins gets traded. Byron Young to the Broncos. I don't really know if he's going to exactly fit the role that I would personally want to fill, and that's where Bradley Chubb was. I know you have Jonathan Cooper there, but you got to have a little bit more of a rotation, and I would love to see someone like Isaiah McGuire be able to fit that mold. And Byron Young's a great player, though. He has a lot of athleticism. Needs to use a little bit more power, but definitely some high upside. Tyjae Spears for the Broncos as well. Intriguing because I think he's a little redundant with what you have in Javonte. I'd love to have some more lightning to that thunder, just like I was talking earlier. But, I'm not going to get mad at it. Tyjae's a very good back. Rams then going Jatavius Martin. I think his name's Quay. But, I'm just not a super huge fan of Martin based on the Senior Bowl tape I saw. He was obviously inferior to Sidney Brown, and that's just my honest opinion. Raiders going Tucker Kraft. You brought in 2 tight ends in O.J. Howard and Austin Hooper. Don't really know if that's necessarily a necessity, but I do think it's not a bad pick. I think it's good value. A.T. Perry to the Saints. I think that's good as well. Very good value. Cody Mauch to the Titans. Yeah, I do that in round 2. So glad to see it over here. Jacqueline Roy to the Texans. Don't really think he deserves being picked here, but defensive interior is something that they should do because, they have one guy who's starter quality who's on a 1-year, $9.5 million deal. So you guys definitely have a big pressing need there. Gervin Dexter to the Browns. This was from the Jets due to the Elijah Moore trade, and I think this is fine. Defensive interior is definitely something they're going to look at. Falcons going Yasir Abdullah. I think he is very solid, especially in terms of pressures. I just cannot see him going this high at all. He had crazy pressures week after week after week. If they go Yaya Diaby and have him train under Calais Campbell and, under Bud Dupree, I think that'll be perfectly fine. But I don't know about Yasir going this high. Rashee Rice to the Patriots. I love my boy. Pony up SMU. But he complains about, he always puts on a Snapchat story, he's freaking cold and it's like 45 out. I highly doubt he's going to love playing in New England when he's getting hit when it's like damn 0 degrees. But we'll see. Rams going Zach Charbonnet, keeping him in LA. They were actually trying to make a deal for Christian McCaffrey and didn't get that done. So they did at least show that they wanted to upgrade at running back. Could be a move that they make. Packers going Michael Wilson. That would be very nice. Good compliment there if you don't want to go after JSN in round 1, which he wasn't there. But if you don't want to go after him, if he is there, Michael Wilson would be nice if you could get him on later day 2 to pair up with Christian Watson. It would be a nice 1-2 punch. Next, we have the Colts going Darius Rush. I think that's perfectly fine. He has a really good build and tested out very well. I just think he started getting a little overrated when people started pushing him into the second, and even some people tried to push him into late first. I was like, pause. Like, he's not even as good as the guy across from him who's not getting this hype, but definitely fine value here at 79. Diane Henley to the Steelers. I've been doing this in the second round. I think this is excellent value for him. Lions going Luke Schoonmaker. That's fine. It's a round 3 pick. You're keeping a Michigan dude in Michigan. It does make logical sense. They don't really have a legitimate tight end 1, even though I'm a huge fan of the tight ends that they do have. I like that, like little Zylstra, Mitchell, and then I forget what Brock's last name is, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I like that trio, but I do think they could try to look to upgrade there. I'd prefer to go after Zach Kuntz just because of the upside, but I do understand they're keeping a guy in Michigan. Sidney Brown, again, I have him as a top 32 player. Goes here at 82, so y'all know how I feel about that. Garrett Williams was a top 15 player before his torn ACL. So, again, y'all know how I feel about this pick. Isaiah Foskey to the Dolphins, excellent value, high upside, very athletic player. He was getting first-round hype up until pretty much the offseason, and I was adamantly against taking him in the first round, and I really didn't like it. I was known as his hater, but I think he's getting underrated now. And that's really weird. I'm an advocate for someone I was not advocating for the entire year. But yeah, Foskey's not bad. I think he should go second round. He has, you see that frame. It's 260 pounds at 6'4", and he tested out really well. He's had some good games there too. Surprised to see no one's talking about that. But the Chargers are going Devon Achane. Yeah, if you're going to be having Eckler requesting a trade, you're definitely going to be looking in the market for one. Tyler Scott to the Ravens. I could totally see that happening. I don't know why, but Cincinnati wide receivers just feel like they're built to be Baltimore Ravens. And I'm glad to see Alec Pierce is not going up against my Steelers 2 times a year because that guy's going to be a baller. But Tyler Scott's a very good player. And I would just prefer a bigger wide receiver because we've seen over and over and over again that these smaller wide receivers do not mesh with Lamar. They just don't. I think Rashad Bateman could be a perfectly fine choice, but Rashad's been injured. He hasn't been available, and obviously the best ability is availability, and I don't think Tyler Scott is necessarily going to be the guy who answers the call. Colby Wooden for the Vikings at this point is a very solid selection. He's a very consistent dude. I like him, and him kicked to the inside, not a bad selection. Zach Harrison for the Jaguars. If they're bringing in guys like Miles Murphy, they are looking to replace that Arden Key, potentially that Josh Allen mold, and or role, excuse me. And Zach Harrison would be great value. Tank Dell to the Giants is ridiculous value. I'm not even going to address it. That's just BS. Dallas Cowboys going Kendre Miller. keeping the TCU vibes, and you're pairing him up with his teammate Quentin Johnston that they took in round number 1. I love Kendre Miller, so glad to see him stay here in Dallas. Well, Fort Worth, whatever. Actually, in between now. So going from Fort Worth to Arlington. For y'all who don't know, Arlington's like 30 minutes outside of Dallas. And the reason they went there is because that's the city was like, yeah, we'll pay for it instead of making you pay for it. So RIP, because Dallas could have had a really cool stadium here, which they're actually advocating for one right now. We'll see if that happens in the expansion. Anyways, Buffalo Bills going Antonio Johnson. It's a really crazy thing falling here, but Mr. put up 9 bench press reps as a safety, weighing less than his corner counterpart, Jalen Jones. Not a big surprise if he does fall to this point. It is pitiful, the fact that he came and put up 10 bench press reps as a strong safety / linebacker. If you saw a linebacker put up 9 bench press reps, people would be ripping him to shreds and saying he's a safety. So maybe I should give him a little bit of slack for that. Jair Brown for the Bengals, I think it's more than fine. We'll see what happens there because, Nick Scott's there, but, you don't really have much else in my eyes. So Jair Brown, he's definitely valuable at pick number 92. Don't think it's bad. Panthers going to Andre Carter, someone who he was pretty much a first-round lock for a while. And he has some incredible tape, but, man, does he look like a fish out of water. He really did. It's just weird. Really weird to see that. I don't know what happened. Eagles going Blake Freeland. That's excellent. That's definitely great. They've, again, shown that they want to go after offensive linemen, bringing 3 dudes in the top, 15 to 20 picks as top 30 visits. And, if they don't end up going that route, they could definitely be looking for someone like Blake Freeland as great depth and kind of be your next version of Jack Driscoll in the long run. Kansas City Chiefs going Tyler Steen. Think that's perfectly fine. I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I think he played left tackle there, though. He played both left and right tackle, but last year he played left tackle, so I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with him potentially starting, but yes, definitely keeping him as a swing tackle would not be bad at all. Roschon Johnson to the Cardinals feels like a kind of a done deal just because he's a beast, and I don't know, it's one of those guys you could see in a Cardinals uni. Commanders going Zach Kuntz is absolutely impeccable. Browns going Henry To'o. I don't like Henry To'o. And I was one of the first to get on that train. I don't even care about being first, to be honest. A lot of people try to take pride in that. As long as you get there, that's all that really matters. So I'm glad I get there earlier just so I could tell you guys what to expect. But HTT is afraid of the ball, man, and he's not even that big. He's not even that good. I would feel really bad for Browns fans. 99, the Niners go Joey Fisher. I'm going to be 100% fair, 100% honest with you guys. I have not watched Joey Fisher unless he was at the Senior Bowl, which he still did not stand out to me. So just complete transparency there. Tavius Robinson, he's a solid edge from Ole Miss. I don't think he's worth a top 100 pick, but this is the time where you start reaching for players that you really, really like. Speaking of a player that I really, really like, Yaya Diaby. He's great. He's a great player. He just needs to have a little bit more conviction when it comes to transferring his speed to power. And then I believe this is the last pick or one of the last ones, THT to the Niners. I think that is a great selection. Tuli Tuipulotu would be an excellent choice too for them, but THT deserves to be a day 2 pick, and that's how it ends off. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys on the far side.